Why should someone pick up a copy of Loyal to the Core?
Because I just want to emphasize how important it is for somebody in this country to stick to small C conservative principles. We need some kind of organization, we need some kind of leader to provide a voice for conservatism. The NCC did that to great effect and great success in the 1970s, 1980s, and 1990s. And I think we need to go back to that. We need to have some kind of organization which speaks to what conservatives want to hear these days.
What do you think the Conservative Party needs to do to rebuild itself as recast itself as a truly conservative party?
Well, I think they just have to go back to their roots, and I think they have to embrace what makes them different from the Liberals, what makes them different from the New Democrats. And that's a belief in free markets and individual freedom, and just generally the idea that less government is better than more government.
Yeah. Do you have any concern about the fact that they don't seem to be grooming, or the party or the movement isn't grooming some younger guys or perhaps even gals to fill the void, that the lack of a conservative leader or leadership class within the party? I mean, when you think of where the party is today, and you ask the basic, who's going to replace Stephen? When you look at the roster of potential leaders, you don't see any real conservatives there, do you?
No, I don't really see any heir apparent to the Conservative Party who would be the torchbearers of true conservatism, and I think that's one of the things that's so disappointing about Stephen. He was the guy. He was the white knight. He was the true conservative believer that we all had confidence would be kind of Canada's Ronald Reagan. And that didn't turn out to be the case. And so now we're faced with the situation of who's next. And I don't really see anybody coming up the pike. And even more concerning to me is that who in the conservative movement is stepping forward and speaking out for free markets and free ideas. Never mind the political parties. What about the movement?
You're talking about a conservative movement. Now, I would think that there are a lot of people who wouldn't understand what you mean by that. You mean like the movement of the party? What are you referring to here?
I'm talking about people who don't necessarily believe in all political parties, but believe in ideals and believe in values and certain principles. People who believe in less government. People who support the National Citizens Coalition are people who believe in less government. And I think there's a real lessening of that voice in the last few years, and I think that's something you have to pump up the volume. I think too much we're relying on political parties or politicians to do the fighting for us, but clearly that's not happening. We cannot rely on politicians to push our ideology. We have to do it ourselves, and that means citizen activist groups, that means think tanks, that means just any kind of conservative organization has to step up and fill that vacuum, because right now there's a void. And we have to do something about that, or we're going to lose the war of ideas.
Use the phrase an independent conservative movement. What do you mean by independent?
Well, I think it's crucial that the conservative movement remain distinct from the Conservative Party. I think that's absolutely crucial, because once the conservative movement becomes too reliant on the Conservative Party or too subservient to the Conservative Party, they lose credibility. And I'm afraid that's what might be happening today. Conservatives are just throwing their lot in with the Conservative Party, and that's not a good road to take.
Have you taken a lot of heat for coming out, you could say almost a little critical of Stephen Harper and the present conservative cadre?
I've made a lot of enemies, I've discovered, by speaking out against the leftier trends of the Conservative Party. I think there are a lot of conservatives out there who consider themselves partisans, and they root for the party. They don't root for ideas, they root for the party. And anyone who speaks out against the party is like a heretic, and they want to roast them alive. But I don't let that bother me, because I don't care about those people. I care about people who believe in true conservative values, and I think among those people I have a lot of support from Canadians who like what I'm doing.